I just called 988 a while ago. I didn't think I ever would sitting here in my car parked outside the apartment I've been renting for the past 3 months. I can barely recognize my life anymore. The dashboard clock reads 2:17 a.m. and I've been sitting here for over an hour. Tuke's house to go inside, but too wired to sleep. My hands are still shaking. Never thought I'd be that guy, the one who needs a crisis hotline, but there I was, voice cracking as I tried to explain to a stranger why everything feels like it's collapsing around me. It wasn't even some dramatic breaking point, no throwing plates or screaming matches like in the movies. Just silence at dinner last night with Rebecca as we tried to discuss the custody schedule for Lily, and something in me just gave way. I drove home, pulled over twice when the road got too blurry through my tears, and by the time I made deep to my parking spot, I couldn't breathe. It's when I made the call. 7 years. Together, 3 years, married, one beautiful 4-year-old daughter. And now I'm living in a one-bedroom with furniture I bought from a discount warehouse because she kept most of our stuff. It makes sense for Lily. She said like our daughter would care about the coffee table we picked out together 3 Christmases ago. The counselor kept asking me what I was feeling and I couldn't even put it into words. Anger, sir, heartbreak, obviously, but mostly this overwhelming sense that he failed at the one thing I swore I'd never screw up. My parents' divorce was a nuclear explosion. But I'm still finding fallout from 20 years later and improvised myself. I never put my own kid through that, yet here we are. The signs were there long before Rebecca started staying late at work 3 nights a week before the passwords on her phone changed. Before the way she'd flinch if I touched her shoulder in passing, I just didn't want to see them. I buried myself in work, convincing myself I was providing for my family when really I was hiding from the growing distance between us. I'd come home late. She'd already be in bed pretending to be asleep. Weekends became coordinatances of childcare and errands where we barely spoke. When she finally told me about Mark from her department, I was even surprised, hurt, destroyed, but not surprised. It's not really about him, she said, which might be the most painful part, knowing she's probably right. We broke us long before he came into that picture. It still hurts to remember how good it was in the beginning. We met at my buddy Kyle's housewarming party. He almost didn't go because I had a deadline the next day, but Kyle insisted, and there she was laughing in the kitchen, mixing drinks for everyone. And Rebecca, she had this way of making everyone feel like they were the most interesting person she'd ever met. That night we talked until people started leaving, and I helped her call an Uber. I remember thinking how easy it was with her, none of the awkward silence there, trying too hard. Our first date was at this hole and fuel a place where the owner kept bringing us free appetizers because she liked how well looked happy. I fell hard and fast. Maybe that was the first mistake, putting her on this pedestal thinking she was perfect, when nobody is. Her ambition was what drew me to her. She was finishing her Bia had this 5-year plan all mapped out while I was still figuring out what to do with my communication stir. Looking back, I can see how it latched onto her drive, how it gave me direction when I felt lost. Should have developed my own path instead of just following hers. When she got pregnant with Lily after dating for barely a year, we're terrified but excited. That proposal wasn't romantic, sitting on our sent hand couch talking budgets and health insurance, but it felt right at the time. Her parents were thrilled, mine were cautiously supportive, but worried. We're rushing, should have listened to thoughts of concerns instead of dismissing them as outdated thinking. There were warning signs. Even then, how she'd shut down during arguments, how I'd avoid difficult conversations to keep the peace, the way she'd make decisions and inform me latter assuming I'd go along with whatever she wanted, and I did almost every time, telling myself I was being support when really I was just afraid of losing her. We bought our little starter home when Lily was 6 months old. I still remember carrying them both across that threshold, feeling like I'd finally made it, like I was doing everything right, hitting all the milestones right on schedule. God, we were so young, so clueless about what was coming. The first real crack appeared when Lily was around 2. Rebecca got promoted the job she'd been gunning for since before we met. More money, more responsibility, higher hours. I was genuinely happy for her, but also terrified about what it meant for youth. Childcare became my domain since my job had more flexibility, and I told myself I was fine with it. Truth is, I resented how easily she slipped into her new role while I struggled juggling work deadlines and toddler tantrums. Instead of talking about it, just swallowed that resentment, let it fester, started making little comments about her hours, her work, dinners, passive-aggressive jabs that I'm not proud of. No, she'd come home excited about some project, and I'd barely look up from my laptop, offering only half-hearted congratulations. I can see now how that must have felt for her. There was this night Lily had been sick. I'd been up with her for 2 days straight, Working really between fever checks, Rebecca came home late again, and I just lost it said things. I knew what hurt her questioned her commitment to our family. Look on her face I still see. It went when I closed my eyes after that. She stopped sharing her work achievements with me altogether. We both retreated toward separate corners. Sex became rare then, mechanical thin non-existent date nights were always maybe next week until we stopped exhausting. Then we were two people sharing a mortgage, not a life. I buried myself in freelance projects, staying up late to work after. Lily was in bed, told myself it was to build our savings, but really it was easier than facing the emptiness growing between. US Rebecca joined a gym, started going straight there after work, would come home, showered, her hair still damp. I never questioned it, maybe I should have you, or maybe. I already knew and couldn't face it. Our conversations became purely logistical. Lily's schedule. Bill's house repairs. When did we stop asking a bootiac others days and actually listening to? The answers, when did I love you become just words we said out of habit, like, pass the salt or did you lock the door? The worst part is how unsurprising all feels in hindsight. I found out about Mark on a Tuesday, nothing dramatic, no lipstick on the collar or mysterious towel receipts. Just her phone buzzing on the counter while she was in the show. Weary, never checked her messages before, never wanted to be that guy, but something made me look that night. The text preview was enough. Miss you already, sometime tomorrow. My stomach dropped to my feet. I scrolled up, reading weeks off conversations, flirty at first, then explicit plans, inside jokes, things shoost to share with me. They'd be meeting for 3 months, right around when she started suggesting we might need some space. I set their phone in hand when she came out of the bathroom. She saw my face, then the phone, and just deflated, no denials, almost seemed relieved. It was finally out there. I didn't mean for it to happen, she said, like that's ever made anyone feel better in the history of affairs. Part of me wanted to scream, throw things, demand details that I just felt hollow, empty. I asked if she loved him. She hesitated. That pause hurt worse than any yes could have. Said she didn't know what she felt more. That night I slept on the couch or tried to kept replaying every late night at work, every networking event, every time she was texting, and turned her phone away when I walked in the next morning. We had to act normal for Lila made her breakfast, packed her lunch, gathered a preschool, all while this invisible bomb was ticking between us. When we finally talked that evening, I wanted to blame everything on her. On Mark would have been easier, but the truth is we both failed the affair. Wash her choice, her betrayal, and I'll never excuseth. But the distance that made it possible, that was on both of us. 2 weeks later, I moved out, told Lily Daddy needed to live closer to work for a while, watched her little face, tried to understand what that meant. The guilt nearly crushed me, still does. The first month in my apartment was a blur. Work, Lily visits, microwave dinners, sleep repeat. Kyle tried getting me out, dragging me to a bar one night. Some woman started talking to me and I panicked, made an excuse, and left. Couldn't imagine being with anyone else, couldn't imagine being alone forever either. Rebecca and I tried counseling Nick to save the marriage, just to figure out how to co-parent without wanting to scream at each other. First session, the therapist asked what we hoped to achieve. I said I wanted to understand how she could do this toast. She said she wanted to move on without being villainized. We were already speaking different languages. I picked up Lily every Wednesday and every other weekend. Those transitions at Rebecca's our house were excruciating. Standing in theater way of the home, I helped pay for waiting while Lily gathered her things to me, times catching glimpses of subtle changes, new throw pillows, rearranging furniture, erasing me piece by piece. My parents keep telling me I'll find someone better. My dad, on his 3rd marriage, is particularly confident about his friends. Try setting me up, send links to dating apps. They don't get it. This isn't about finding a replacement, it's about figuring out who I am now that I'm not Rebecca's husband. The hardest part is with Lily. She asked me last weekend why I don't live at home anymore, if I was mad at mommy, if I didn't want to be her daddy anymore. I held her and promised I'd always be her daddy no matter what. That mommy and I both love her, but sometimes grown-up change. Basic divorce script delivered, drew a throat tight with tears when I dropped her off. Rebecca mentioned Mark was coming over for dinner the next night. First time meeting Lily, officially asked if I was okay with it, like my opinion mattered. What was I supposed to say? That I wanted our daughter to have a guy that would just make me fevelane. So I nodded, said whatever is best for Lily, drove home and put my fist through the drywall. Now here I am sitting in my car at 2 a.m. with swollen knuckles and a headache from crying to a stranger on a crisis. Lyneth counselor said I should try to get some sleep, that things won't feel so overwhelming in the morning. Easy for her to say her life isn't scattered across 2 households. Her identity isn't shattered into before and after pieces. I keep thinking about this stupid thing when Lily was born. Rebecca and I met at this time capsule for her, put in newspaper headlines. A letter to her future self predictions about what she'd be. Like at different ages, we sealed it, planned to open it on her 18th birthday. It's still in the attic of the house. Will Rebecca remember it? Will I even bother when they open it? Will Summer Jane of Mark be in the picture? Bython will I don't know. How to date? I didn't know if I wanted the thought off. Small talk with strangers makes me want to crawl out of my skin. And what would even say hi? I'm Jason, 32, graphic designer, failed husband, part-time dad, full-time mess, wanna grab coffee, who the hell would sign up for that mytherapist? Yes, I finally got my own Stacey, need to reconnect with who I was before Rebecca, but that person barely existed. I was 24 when we met, still figuring everything out. She became a beacon, my anchor, my direction with her. I'm just adrift. Some days I can convince myself this is a new beginning, that I can create a life that's authentically mine, not built around someone else's dreams. Other days like today, I can barely remember to eat. It's exhausting, this constant negotiation with grief and hope. The only thing keeping me moving forward is Lily, her tiny hand in mine when we walked out the park. The way she falls asleep against my chest during movie night, how she still runs to me full speed when it pick her up. I have to become someone worth looking up to, someone who didn't let betrayal and heartbreak define him forever. I don't know what that looks like yet. Don't know if I'll ever fully trust someone again. Don't know how to not feel like a failure when I see intact families at the playground, but I made a promise to that counselor tonight that I'd at least try to envision a future where this pain isn't the loudest thing in my life, where I can remember good parts without drowning in what went wrong. Maybe that starts with just going inside, getting some sleep, and being present for Lily tomorrow. Maybe it's accepting that I won't have answers in a time soon, that healing isn't linear, that I can miss what we had while still acknowledging it wasn't what I thought it was. I should probably go in now. It's almost 3, but part of me wants to stay here in this moment of raw honesty before I have to put on the brave face again, before I have to be functional Jason, who's totally handling this divorce like a champ, who's not still in love with someone who chose someone else, who doesn't wake up reaching for a person who isn't there one day at a time. Right, that's what they say, so I guess tomorrow is day one again.